Hello, everyone. Spirit of 420 here because everything I do is so 420. Coming right out of the gate coughing. My wife nearly killed me moments ago. Phew. With a huge pre-show dab. 2 in a row. I said we had time, but I didn't know it was going to be death to me. So I'm literally stuffy-nosed. I was coughing up a storm just 10 seconds ago. And my dogs are apparently going off about something downstairs. So hopefully the house isn't being robbed and nobody's at gunpoint. So I hope everybody's having a good Saturday. This is actually a special episode because today is the 8th. I normally only go on odd days, but I missed Monday. So I had already decided to go live tonight. And funny enough, of course, I continue not to look at the camera. So I need to have a sign up there. Do you hear the dogs? I'm curious. You probably do. Anyway, right after the show last night, and if you remember, last night's show was on letting go, right? And learning to let go, let God, let peace in. So right after the show, as many Friday nights, I had a pickup order up at the Walmart. So I go up there like I normally do. Now I have to digress and come back so that you understand the context of last night. But about 2.5 months ago, thereabouts, my memory isn't perfect. So somewhere between 2 and 3, which is why I'm saying 2.5. I went up there during day. And by the way, the first incident was during the day. That's something I actually want to make note of. I still have to send the manager of Walmart an email, just so you know. Yeah, because I mean, this was actually, quite frankly, disturbing, to say the least. I think disturbing is the least to say this was. It was harassment, First incident. What's the time? So 2.5 minutes ago, picking up my groceries. Now I do, I stand out and make sure because funny enough, at the time, I was dealing with having to put the groceries not in the back totally, but in the side seat, in the back seat rather than the trunk, because I have a juke and I had the seats down or at least I had the left seat down, left back seat that is, because I had a blown tire and was riding on a donut, but I don't do a ton of driving and I don't do interstate driving. So I was fine doing the donut until I could get a good deal on tires, which I ended up getting one. Needless to say, I had to be out of the car to make sure that the groceries got put in correctly. But I never really talked to these people. And I never really engaged them. And this one fine particular day, this young girl, somewhere between, let's say, 19, 22 years old. And I'll have to share it tomorrow. I just realized I was going to share it tonight, but I don't have the footage blurred, her face, her identity, and I don't have the legal right, and I'm not that kind of douchebag. So I'll just tell you the story, and I'll share the footage on Tuesday's show. Is that right, by the way? Jesus, I get this wrong so often. So I'm going to look at the camera while looking at my phone. My phone. Yeah, Tuesday is the 11th. All right, so I'll be on Tuesday. Okay. Where the hell I'll be in life, I don't know. Most likely, odds are I will be on the road with my papa, taking him back to the homestead. So, by the way, got Big Blue. You know what's here. So I can't remember, but it seems like it was a weekend. I know I'm doing horrible tonight, coughing up a storm. My throat is all messed up from that dab hit. Thanks so much, honey. I really appreciate you doing what you did for me before I go on to the show. Maybe I'll do the rest of the show in my Batman voice. So it's an afternoon. I think it's early evening, so maybe 4 or 5. But this is like 2.5 months ago, so it was getting well lit, right? And she's putting the groceries in, and she's making conversation with me, and she is flirting with me. So I simply asked the question, would you ever consider going out with somebody you met here, right? Referring to the Wal-Mart pickup, right? Because I'm not scared of that. I've been a server. I've been so many different positions, and so many people ask me out, and I've asked so many people out on both sides. So, but at the same time, some people are weird. And sure enough, she was a strange one, and she was like, "Oh, I would never." And seems like she might have even said, "I can't believe you even asked me that." But quite frankly, what I said was polite. It was not. I didn't curse. Wasn't forward. I didn't do it while lunging at her. Right? Hey, would you ever? I mean, it was the most polite way to do it, and that's how people meet. That's how people go out. How else do you ask? In fact, it was doubly polite, in my opinion, because not only did I ask politely and without any kind of harassment or hint at even sex, I simply said, "Would you like to go out?" I didn't say, "Do you want to go out on a date?" And I didn't even say, "Would you want to go out?" I said, "Would you ever consider going out with somebody you met here?" So no was the answer, and that's fine. I can handle it. I'm a grown man. I will say, in my head, I literally thought to myself, "Okay, well." I went right to everything happens for a reason. Anybody who is that offended by somebody asking if they would, consider it, then it's not somebody I want to hang out with anyway. So I was completely fine with it. I really was. Anybody who knows me and knows my life, I was. I think I told my wife it was a few days ago because I found it funny, right? And then I told her because we were going up there one day, and I was like, I even said to her, I was like, there's the chick that doesn't want to go out with anybody she meets here. Which again I thought was humorous in and of itself. So throughout the 2 months before we get to last night, over the last 2.5 months, obviously I've seen her more than once. I told you just now, my wife, and every time, it would be, you could literally see her pointing me out to her friends, and they would be giggling. Right? Like I know what's going on. You're a fucking teenager, practically. If you're not a teenager, then you just stopped being one. Like you just stopped being one, right? So I get it. And anybody that says anything about asking them out, fine. I'm robbing the cradle, but they are of sound mind to know what they're doing, and they're already having plenty of sex well before 19 years old. I promise you. In fact, my current, not boyfriend, but steady male friend, if you will, steady trans friend, actually, to be technical. Was when I met him, he was 22. I guess now he's, I don't know, 24, 25, somewhere in there. Doesn't matter. I mean, age isn't a big deal once you get past the 18 mark, quite frankly. In fact, most kids have lost their virginity by 13. I don't make the rules. I just play by them. I mean, dude, come on, it's a reality. I'm not going to get political about it, but the fact is, by 13, most women have had their period and they are horny just like by 13. In fact, the book that I saw was one from 9 to 12 because that's when it starts getting hard on a regular basis. Let's just put it that way. And if you haven't played with it, you will be soon. And of course, you want to find out what that is to play with it with the other sex or with somebody's wet fucking hole, you know. Anywho, the gaggles and the giggles would happen, right? And I was aware of it. So here we come to last night. This person it doesn't make sense to me because first of all, you said no. I have said nothing, done nothing ever since. She comes out. Now, just so you understand, I'm at the car. I was at the front smoking a cigarette. I walked out to the front of the car. Here's the trunk, right? Walked to the front of the car, was having a cigarette. Saw her coming down, so I walked back, opened the trunk, came on this side of the car, by the way, to be even further away from her. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but by doing this, she can't walk past me. She has to walk away from me, right? I'm now on the other side of the vehicle. I turned the radio down, stereo down, so it's not blasting. She comes up and, I'm like, I give the name. We do the confirmation thing, right? I walk back over well past the door because I watched the video, but well past the door. And that's when she says, "Where's your girlfriend at? Where's your girlfriend at?" I didn't hear it the first time. Or I didn't hear what she said the first time, so I kind of leaned and walked around so I could at least, have an eye to eye. And I was like, "Excuse me? Where's your girlfriend at? You guys are always up here together." And I was like, "Well, it's my wife. And no, she's never up here with me. I come up here 100 times for every one time that she does." All right. And I can't remember what she said. Like, she's always with you. No, she's not. And I've got to find somebody who has like the capabilities. What's up, Princess? Got to find somebody who has the capabilities to tell me how to do and I'm sure I can do it. I have a Mac. I have, what do you call it? Oh, fuck. I have all of Mac's really nice audio software. I'm not talking about Backstage. I'm talking about, it's right here. So Main Stage, not GarageBand is not what I'm talking about, but I also have Logic Pro, and I have Complete Control, which is, I'm just telling you, I have plenty of sound things. One of these, Compressor, and I think that's movies. Motion, that's movies. I do have Final Cut as well, but that's movies. But Logic Pro and between Logic Pro and Main Stage, honestly, and some of the other ones that I have, I should be able to get it done. And what I mean by that is because the mic is on the camera and the camera's at the front of the car. And I have one that, is a dash cam pointing out, or I should say pointing out this way, but then it has a dual cam that points to the back. And it caught all this, right? Verifiable. And she kept saying something, and I was like, she stays home. We're in an open marriage. That's why she stays home. That's why I go out by myself. She goes and does things at her time, at times by herself. And I was about to walk away, and then she starts, she goes like this. She has something along the lines of, "Well, me and some of the other females have noticed that you're very flirtatious with us." And I was like, "Nope, not true." "Well, you're very flirtatious with us." And I was like, "No, it's only been one time, and it was you. You flirted with me, and I asked, and you said no, and I've left it alone ever since." Right? And she ended up saying something else about, "Well, we just want you to leave us alone." I was like, "I don't fucking talk to you. I don't ever talk to you after that day. Number one. And I have never talked. Most of the time it's guys. And even though I am pansexual and don't mind getting a little noodle every once in a while, the reality is, how do I say? It's more acceptable for a guy to hit on a chick or ask a chick out than it is for a guy to ask a guy out. Even though there's just as much possibility that she's gay and doesn't like men as there is that he's not gay and likes men. It's literally, even Steven these days. So I don't typically, unless I'm at a gay bar or a, pride friendly bar or something of that nature, generally speaking, I'm not gonna hit on dude. Now, if some dude hits on me, then I'm gonna hit back if he's attractive, right? But that's a different story. And in point in fact, it was a female. She was flirtatious with me, so I asked for permission to engage. She said no. That's where it left, and I never talked to any of the other ones because, no offense to the women at Walmart, but with the exception of one that looks like she could be, and I would hit on her. I won't lie. I would hit on her. I am a flirtatious person, but I have not. I'm just saying I would. She's never engaged me, so I never have. But there's one that looks like Zoe Kravitz's like sister, right? I mean, who wouldn't, right? If she gave me the time of day and even talked to me, then I would ask the same fucking question, which was completely appropriate. But I never did because most of them are fucking cows, is my point. And I mean fucking cows. Not my flavor. No offense to them. They're not worse people than me, but I don't find cows attractive. I prefer thoroughbreds. Just my thing. I don't even really like a donkey or a jackass. You know what I mean? But definitely not a cow or a boar. There's some boars up there. Twisted. The point is, all of this. Oh, I gotta finish. So she was like, even so, and then grabbed her little cart and spun around and started walking away. Now, if you've ever been to Walmart pickup, you know how fucking just loud as shit. You can't hear anything. Whenever these folks talk to one another, they yell at each other. So I go to the volume necessary to be like, you engaged me. You spoke to me first. I was minding my own business. Stop yelling at me. Like, she had to yell it for me to hear her. And I was like, the carts are making so much noise. I was like, what are you talking about? She kept yelling something. You should just finally got, so here's the front of my car, and it's these stairs that go up to their door, right, that you park at. And as she got about right here in front of my car, which I'm now standing beside, she was like, you can just leave now. And I was like, you can just fuck off now. It's like, you can just leave. I was like, you can just fuck off. And said it all the way until she went into the door. And I have the footage. I have both. I mean, I'll just give you like a preview, right? I'll take it away. But I have both. That was the back. This is the front. I have both situations of me being in this situation where, and I think that's me in the car, right? Yeah, no, she's already there. Yeah. So all I can tell you is it was extremely disappointing. I felt harassed. I literally, because I knew I had done nothing. I was minding my own business, smoking a cigarette on the other side of the car, and it's all on footage, which I have talked to the Walmart manager. The first thing that he said when I told him the story, I was like, I admittedly I engaged this person 2.5 months ago when she was flirting with me and asked this very question. And just like I said, he said the same thing. Yeah, that's absolutely not inappropriate. You crossed no lines. I mean, this is how this fucking world. Look, only when men and women meet do other men and women get created. So, it's how it is. You don't have to, if you don't like it and someone's polite enough, please, at least I wasn't, and all this fucking, I wasn't rude. I was like, hey, I want to eat your pussy. I mean, I was none of that shit, right? I was polite, asked for permission, didn't get it, went no further. And when I told him that, and I told him I had the footage, he was he was very disappointed. He actually, I'll tell you this, he said, I'm being very truthful, sir. I am really impressed with what you've shared and your knowledge and your wisdom and your what did he call it? I think he said my experience. But the way he made it sound, it was like I had just mentored him on the phone for 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. I'm not even being facetious. I wish I would have. I do have it, I've always got cameras. I'm filming everything, baby. Motherfucking everything now. Like, my life is a fucking open book, and I want to have every moment so that I can share it with the world if it's cool. And that's only going to be happening more now that I don't have a job that I give a shit about and I do what the fuck I want. So, you can fuck off now. Yeah, that's what I told her. I loved it. I honestly felt good about it because I knew I had every right. By the way, I shared that 100% with the manager, and he, at no point did he you were inappropriate there. No, I wasn't. She was completely inappropriate for the whole thing, and he knew it. Plus the fact telling me I can leave now, that's inappropriate. She didn't even close my trunk, by the way. How y'all feel about that? How you feel? So I kind of made this the special in tonight's episode because I thought it was very interesting that this happened mere minutes. It was not an hour. I don't think it was an hour. I'm trying to think. I got off. I started at 7:20 last night, and I think I stopped before 8:20. At least I think I did. I might have gone over an hour. I can't remember. But so this was, it wasn't more, it was more than an hour because it was about 9:45. So put it that way. So we're talking about only like an hour 20 after I just did a show about letting go and how instrumental letting go is, right? And I don't know if any of y'all remember, but one of the things that I talked about last night in concerns to letting go is one of the things that makes letting go easier is being able to get closure, be able to get closure on a particular incident, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a one-time thing, who knows? Maybe it's closure with your own penis. I really don't know. All I know is this: you have to get closure. You have to get closure in order to let it go. Now, the way that you go about that, really depends on the situation. Sometimes you're forced to get closure without ever talking to the other party. In last night's example, that was the case. I had to get closure about why Hobag and I broke up in order to, and I really needed it from her, but never even got it, and I won't even go into that story. That's like a whole line of stories that we'll call the Hobag tales. But my point is that one I was forced to essentially work with a therapist as well as my wife and my children from Hobag in order to find the closure that I needed to let it go. Right. And it was one of the hardest things to let go. And that's why I use that as an example, because it was not my first lesson by far. It was definitely one of my more painful lessons, because I was head over heels in love with that woman, right? I don't know if y'all are hearing it, but I'm turning it down anyway, and because it's finally getting cold. It was getting hot up here, funny enough, all day. It was been cold, but all of a sudden the sun came out and boom, my fucking room got hot because the sun shines right on the corner of the house. Anywho, one of the most painful examples of letting go. Couldn't just let go. It was hard as fuck. I fucking hated it. What I will say is it's one, I don't use hate very often. So when I say I hated it, I'm not referring to her. I'm referring to, it was one of the few experiences in life that I truly hate, not regret. It made me who I am. And I mean that, I don't regret it, but I hate it. I went through it for a very long time. We broke up in '03, and I really didn't close it until '09. And that was when I finally, by the way, started to love myself, which allowed me to start to finally love what is my wife today, who had been putting herself out there the whole time. And what I mean by that is, we ended up having some issues because of it, because she'd been over backwards. And then I kind of got to the point where I expected that once I did say I love you, I'm like, why ain't my fucking teeth filled, bitch? What the fuck? I mean, we got over it quickly. We figured out, hey, she was as much responsible as I was. And what I mean by that is she didn't mind doing the tea, but I'd gotten to the point where I expected it without a please. Let's just put it that way, right? And all she wanted, if you're watching, honey, you're not an it. You are the it for me, but you are my wife. All she wanted was a please, right? And the acknowledgement. And the difference is, though, is that for years I had not said please at all. I hadn't fucking asked for it at all. It would just be, I would be playing video games and the tea would get down to about, a fourth of a glass. And all of a sudden I'd look over and that bitch was back up with ice, right? As just a single example. But if last night wasn't a slap in the face of letting it go, and I couldn't, man, it bothered me. Like, it honestly bothered me to my core. I ended up going to bed, and all week, just so you know, as much as I am letting it go, and I know that the future is bright, I have this fucking light in my face that's proof in the pudding. I know that everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. I know that I'm going to be better at the outcome than I am now. But I told you the pain of this one, I will not, I've already forgiven. It is really hard to forget. So every night this week, I've gone to bed like, how did I get fired? Like, it just, and I mean, when I say I've been fired from so many jobs, you would laugh. And if you knew me, you would be like, what'd you do this time? Except if you knew me my whole life, you would know I never had a job as long as I had this past job. I never put more of it. I never gave more. And I had changed. I was a different person finally. And I've talked about this, but I got it, no coincidence, at 46 years old, right when I had really made this change and let go and fully given into, the light as much as, or the easiest way that I'll say it. So each night this week, I've had that in my mind. And then I went to bed last night, like irked. I was like, what the fuck did I do? I was minding my own business. I've never hit on one of those other fucking people. I've never talked to her again. It really, like, when they say that you get defensive when you're guilty. Now, there is truth to that, but you also get hurt. And this was not defensive. I haven't defended myself because there's been she made that accusation and I simply said nope and didn't get all crazy about it against her. What I'm talking about is the eating away later afterwards, right? That's because it hurt. And I fully fucking acknowledge that it hurt. It hurt my character. It had not hurt before when these stupid little fucking bitches and people that I don't know and don't care about and don't work with, I don't live with, they mean nothing to me in my life. They're special, unique, and awesome, and I love them, but they mean nothing to me in my 6 degrees of circles, right? They're not in it. So when they laugh and gaggle and fucking point out, none of that hurt. What hurt was I just listened to someone straight bold-faced try to lie to me. And here's why. So she thought for sure, I've been, I told you I fucking couldn't stop thinking about it. And it happened right after the show on Letting Go. It was right? Like, oh, you want to do a show on Letting Go? Well, I mean, I tell you what, I'm going to show you. How to let go, which is why I did tonight's show. Forgive versus forget. It's two fucking different things. But guaranteed, this little treasure chest of youngness assumed I have no other explanation. I'm not assuming, I am making a deduction, because I know 100% I didn't hit on one other fucking person, male, female, transsexual, alien, dog, cat, nothing. I had on nobody up there. I don't even talk to them. I fucking open the doors. I put the shit in. I'm like, let me get the milk first, please. And then the frozen items. And then I say, have a blessed and lifted day, like I fucking say to everybody. And then I fucking leave. Right. So when someone, it's always at that, right? Have you noticed? When someone says something like that, what deduction can I make? Well, nobody else went to her and said it, right? She probably, I know for a fact that she would talk. My wife has seen it with her own eyes, where she all but points to me, and then there's laughter between her and whatever little dipshit she's talking to, which we both laughed. My wife now wants to go with me the next time. Because I told you, I did say the story, right? Where like, at first, like, where's your girlfriend at? Bitch, that's my fucking. So in the deduction, we know that she has talked to somebody else. We know that nobody could stand up and say, yeah, he's been flirty with me. Now, there is the possibility that someone has lied, but I really don't believe that. My guess is that she tells a story, and whenever you want something to go your way, we all know how to tell a story and get someone to agree with you, right? So, for instance, see that guy over there? Yeah, he asked me, da 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 da. Oh my God, would you go out with him? Have you ever taken groceries to his car? Was he really sweet and nice? Was he kind of flirty? I don't know. I mean, he was really nice. He was sweet. Now, everybody says they're going to hear one thing, but I promise you, if you've ever played the game Gossip, and if you don't know what that fucking game is, you play it every day without even knowing. It is the game you play in life, because someone tells you something, and then you tell somebody else that something. You have now gossiped. And when you do it, it's never the same. If you could, you can literally take 5 people, as few as 5 people, and tell a 2-sentence gossip. It will be different by the time it comes back around to the person that led it. Period. Okay. It's been tested, it's tried, it's true. So I say that because part of the reason that is true is people hear what they want to hear. This is psychology 101. Right? Maybe 105. I don't know. I think it's funny. Nobody ever says that. This is psychology 218. And by the way, wouldn't it be like psychology numero uno? I know in college they call it 101 because it's all hundreds, and this is the first one. I was just being goofy, okay? So fuck off. But in my personal opinion, when you look at that fact, that means that people hear what they want to hear. I'm pretty sure that either A, nobody said it, or B, the people she talked to gave her enough that she heard that I was flirting, right? And all of a sudden she's going to be their voice, by the way. But my firm deduction, what has the highest percentage, is that she assumed that I had done this before, hit on someone else before. Therefore, she could just ride that boat. Oh, I'm not the only one. Yeah, you were, because you're the only one that was flirtatious with me that I felt deserved the opportunity to go out with this. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just saying. You flirted with me, so I gave you an opportunity to take it further. You shot it down like a fucking, what is it? Oh gosh, I'm gonna blow that one. World War II, the Germans. It doesn't matter. Fucking Snoopy fought him. The Baron. He Red Baroned my ass right out of the fucking sky just at the thought of it, not even actually asking you out, mind you. And I really think it's funny that the first question out of her mouth, the way she starts this conversation that leads up to telling me how they don't appreciate it and don't want me to cease being flirty, was, where's your girlfriend? Now, she had already waited on us once before, and we were both outside the car, and she had ample opportunity to say something then. But obviously her testicles did not drop, and I just don't get it. Like, anybody that listens to this story has to know that this chick is out of her fucking mind. You turned me down. I'm not talking to you. I am standing 6 feet away from you. It's on video. I have left the fucking building. Elvis has left the building. I'm not engaging you. And you come back and say, where's your girlfriend? So where's your girlfriend? For somebody who doesn't want me to ask them out, please raise your hand if that is a very odd question from someone who was completely put off at the thought of me asking them out, at even the thought of me at the thought of me even asking them out, and I hadn't even done it. Just raise your hand. Oh shit, sorry. Fans up there. That's from songs, though. I love it when they do that. They rap and they make themselves the machine gun. Anywho. Did anybody see that Pineapple was not cooperating because of this? You know what? We can go ahead and turn that off. So I can tell you, and I was going to share, I can at least, let's see if I do this right. Well, no, because it'll immediately go to, so forget it. I'll edit it and share the video on the next one and let you see it. And then her ugly face will be blurred out. Obviously, she wasn't ugly. She was a cutie. She's a little glasses wearer. And what I saw was beyond the glasses. When she takes them off, it's probably this. Yeah. So it's probably best to leave them on anyway. I really got that distinct feeling last night that she might be one of those that when the glasses come off, maybe one eye's fucking done like that, right? How are you looking at me with that? And that one's going over there. I can do it to the other one too. Just switch it up there. Check that out. Boom. Was my eyes open enough for you to see it? All right. That's a trick that I learned by hitting my head on the ground. I'm sure y'all were all like me doing that growing up. I did the shit out of crossing my eyes, and I always heard the same thing from fucking great grandparents to my parents. If you do that all the time, you're going to get stuck. It's just going to stick that way. What fucking schmuck came up with that fucking concept? Did some kid, I wonder, one day that did that shit a lot, right? That did it a lot, always was running around, right? And then he gets kicked in the fucking head by a donkey or some shit. And so he is cross-eyed, and they're like, it's because he was always doing that. It had to start somewhere, folks. That's all I'm saying, right? Those stupid things, they don't just creep out of nowhere, They come from somewhere. So the fact that she lied Yes, it bothered me. I am old enough and willing to admit that kind of shit in this day and age. I fucking was hurt. I was disgusted. I let it get under my skin. What really bothered me, and then I'll move on. Because what's funny is I looked up today and found this thing, or found the section. It's the same book that I keep, right? Learn to Forgive, and that's where the second part came from. Because by the time I woke up, I was refreshed, and I always try to start the day positive and let go of whatever the fuck happened the night before. It's kind of part of my daily routine in the morning. However, the night before, I didn't let it go. And some of y'all may think this is funny. And what I mean by funny is some of you may think that I'm full of shit, but I play the lottery just on certain days, which ends up being 3 times a week. And I kind of have a routine about it where I always have some different routine. It's all about numbers for me. So, my current routine is buying a certain number of tickets on these certain days, right? No more, no less. And I've been playing for the lottery for a while, and I just play the scratch now. I don't play the numbers anymore. And I almost always win at least what I spent, come out with at least what I spent, no bullshit, or more, right? I've even hit it fairly big a couple times. And when I say big, on a $10 ticket, winning 200, not 5,000, just, like, oh yeah, cool. Anywho, I have a belief that it's all about the moment, right? And the karma and positive energy. I know, call me crazy. How could someone like me believe in that shit? But I do. So any fucking who, I went and bought the tickets right after this incident, and I had clearly not let it go. And I was actually doubly angry because I kept trying to call Walmart and nobody would answer. I swear to God, it feels like Walmart policy that they do not answer the phone after 8 o'clock at night, unless you're calling the pickup department for a fucking pickup, right? Then those motherfuckers are on. Hello. Yes. Anyway. So, I was totally irked by the fact that nobody would answer the call. And I even thought to myself, don't go and do lottery right now. Don't do it. Right? Because the way that I do it is I do it with last time's earnings, and I still buy the same amount, no more, no less. Sometimes I have extra money, right? And sometimes I'm right on. Like to the dollar right on. Like this time I was actually right. The exact amount that I spent last time was exactly what I won. So I believe in that energy, right? I even use a lucky coin. We have to rub them together. My wife and I rub them together. I'm talking about tip to tip. Tip of penny to tip of penny, you sick-minded fucks. No. So anyway, it's a whole ritual to it, right? I even said to myself, and I knew better, I was like, you're not in the right energy. Just let it go. Don't do it today. But the 7th is one of my favorite days. Typically one of my best winners, but I was not. I was in negative space. I had not let what happened go. I was hurt and feeling it, and even more hurt because I couldn't complain to anybody about it or show, anybody that mattered the video proving that I hadn't even, that I had completely was engaged by this individual and off doing my own thing, when she fucked with me, harassed me. And sure enough, one jack shit. We each had a winner. Not nearly enough to cover the cost and not nearly what we would normally see. And I knew it. I was like, you fucking schmuck. You should have just listened. You see, those are the times when you come back and you're like, yep, I should have fucking listened to the little tiny me. That little tiny me is there for a reason and gives you sage advice. I swear to God. Who do we have here? Yeah, it happens. It happens. Thanks. Right. There you go. I like that. I missed that, by the way. Sorry. I've been looking over and somehow did not see your chats. Thanks for engaging. And don't be sorry. I'm not. It happens. I actually told the manager today, one of the things I told him, I was like, the only thing that really sucks about this is I'm now going to be highly on the lookout when I come up here. And thank God that I record everything, because there's no way that it's going to, not be on record how I'm acting anymore. So, but needless to say, I did not let it go. I had not. And it wasn't until after this morning's call, which, again, the manager was really nice. And I've talked to a lot of Walmart managers over the years. This one was one of the nicers. He was a very class act, very nice, gave me kudos. I gave him kudos. We were very respectful of one another. And he could even say, I think he said something like your advice. I think that's what it was. He's like, I really, really thank you for sharing your advice. And I'm going to end up meeting him after I get back from my dad's. I got to send him the video later tonight, as a matter of fact. But once I let it go, even though I had a good morning, by the way, I woke up in a good place. But when you tell that story, the first time to management that matters, right? I obviously got emotional again because I was kind of right back there, because I had not let it go, even though I told the story to my wife, my mother, my father, who all just happen to be here. My father's not always here, but he is. So everybody heard the story, right? Or at least some shortened version of it. I don't know that my father heard it, or my mother, actually. I don't think that they heard it until the morning. But regardless, they heard it before I told him. And all I can tell you is it's really essential, as I put in the title, and I'm moving on to the last subject, and I'm going to make it quick and then let everybody get to the rest of their evening. But forgiving and forgetting are, they're much like, we talked about action and attitude. They're really a lot like that. And what I mean by that is one builds on the other, but one is not required of the other, right? If I forgive something, like for instance, with my job, with this chick, right? Whatever the case may be, if I forgive something, that means I'm not holding it against them anymore, right? I'm letting it go. I still, by the way that I live my life, I still love them. I'm hurt. Just because you're hurt by somebody doesn't mean you can't forgive them, right? Because that hurt is the forget part. You're not going to forget. Now, over time, the pain, and that's always the key thing, because you never really forget, and not to bring up a sore subject for anybody else, but like, for instance, I had a very bad relationship. Someone was telling me today, and that's Wilson, by the way. I'll come back to Wilson. But he shared some stuff with his child, which is very similar, and I won't go into it because it's his private. But, what I will say is it was similar in the sense of most people have issues with their father. I'm not going to share the details, but he has father issues like most of us. And, one of the things that it made me think about it, because I now have a great relationship with my father. We argue, we bicker. That's normal. The man's 24 years older than me, and we just don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, although I'm like a carbon copy number one running around of him, right? But there was a time when it was very hurtful, very hateful, and a lot of pain, and I forgave him years ago, but it took years for the pain not to be on the surface when I would see him. And that's the only way I know how to say it. And even though I had forgiven, and I'm not talking about that it was so on the surface for years that when I would see him like, fuck you, and all of a sudden angry again, I'm just saying, even though you would be polite and nice in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, I remember. I know where we were. And you never really forget, right? And over time, though, what ends up happening is you go, okay, two things happen. Number one, with time, there's two things. One, the further away you get from the pain, the duller the pain becomes. Everybody knows that. But here's the other thing that I started to realize that comes with it. As these folks, and it really doesn't matter if you're talking about somebody young, somebody old, somebody who's the same age, doesn't matter where they are. Something happens between you and somebody else, and it's now skip 25, 30 years later, right? Literally 30 years later, in concerns to like with my father and I. It's been 35 years since, the last incident that we had. Let's just put it that way. We have both grown, and I'm well aware, right? That's a different man. The person that did that to, and I don't care, man. I have been around long enough, and don't get me wrong, I don't ever want to kill somebody, but I've known some people who have done it. And what I know is even for the worst sins that there are, the worst things that we can do, mortally in this world, if you truly have asked for forgiveness from, whoever it is, karma, yourself, because it's really yourself first, right? And then you can ask your God if you have that, or you can ask the world if you have that, or you can ask your friends, whoever you need to get the forgiveness from. But once forgiven and you truly live a different life through your actions, you're a different person, and you can't hold something against somebody that was done, back then. For instance, and I think I talked about this before, but the oldest, she's not older than me, but the oldest of my stepsisters, and I talked about this, if you remember, there was a night where I ended up going, crossing the line with her. I crossed the line. I was 14 or 15 and had been drinking, and simply put, what is it? Oh, I stopped short, right? So I reached out and grabbed. Still to this day. And what's funny is I have well forgiven myself. I was a different person like 4 times over from that individual. What's funny is when I think about those things, I'm like, did I really do that? Or is that just is this all real? That's when when you think about those old memories, I don't know about you folks, but I digress for a minute, and I'll come back to the forgiveness thing. And I may not come back to the right place, but I don't know if anybody else is like me, but when I think about those really old memories, and I'm talking even, not talking like last week, right? Those are so fresh. But even once the memories have gotten like 5 years or older, it really doesn't feel like I did it. It's like, I don't even know how to describe. I literally question reality and my own reality because I think about the things that I once did, and I'm like, did I really do that? Is that real? Is that actually happened? Not to mention Mandela effect, but we won't get into that. We won't even touch that squirrel tonight. Good little squirrel, going back into your cage. I'm not opening up that cans. Regardless, there's no animosity towards my father anymore for the things that happened to me when I was a fucking teenager. Just like I'm pretty sure he doesn't hold things against me from what I did and the actions that I did, probably even well into my 20s at this point, because he sees who I am now. I see who he is. Do we still disagree on things? Yes, that's normal. My point is, forgiving and forgetting are two different things, and one takes all the time in the world, or what feels like it, like almost a whole, like, give me 10 years and then it's not going to matter anymore because I know that you're not that person anymore. You're either much worse, much better, or the fucking same. One of the three. But the essential is to forgive almost as fast as it's happened. And I know that, some people don't get that. They're like, I'm not going to forget somebody that hurt me. Really? and I wanted to come back. My sister, I now laugh at it because she's doing more damage to herself because she is still living 35 years ago in a moment that is so far removed from, like, she's been married twice, has kids. What the fuck are you still angry about something that happened when we were teenagers? That just hurts you. It does. That's not hurting me. And when and when I say you, there's something on my shirt. I don't know what the hell that is. There was something on Archer. That's not right. I have learned that forgiveness is essential, not for the other person, for yourself. You forgive, you immediately start the letting go. This really should be a sequel to last night's show and what it was about. But you start the letting go process. Once you forgive, you start the letting go, and eventually, no, you'll never forget, but it'll become such a thing of the past that it's not in the forefront of your mind. So in essence, you let it go. You let go of the memory being there. Never going to forget, right? I shouldn't say never, because there's those things out there that we choose to forget. That's a different story. That's a different day. I wanted to read this one, and this, when I tell you who said it, I think you'll get it. But this one speaks. It wraps up the whole thing about forgiveness that I just fucking said. To be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it. Confucius. Isn't that funny? Now, again, that doesn't mean forget. That means forgive and let it go, because you're never going to truly forget it, but you can get to a point where you don't remember it. Right? There's another one too. I want to read just a couple more, and then I'm going to let you folks go. I'll tell you who said it afterwards. Always forgive your enemies. I bet a lot of y'all have heard this. Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. Oscar Wilde. Now here's a good one. I thought it was really clever of these folks to add this. I'm going to say this one and then give anybody that's listening a chance to see if they can figure out who it is. But forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. Who said that? Bueller. Luke. Specifically, that's 6:37, but Luke said it, right? And then, what was it? Oh, here's the last one. And I am not going to, I'm not gonna, if I can get their name right, but I can get the saying right. One forgives to the degree that one loves. La Rochefoucauld? I don't know. Fuck if I know. ROCHEFOUCAULD. Somebody phonetic that shit to me if you think you know how to do it. So that is it. To blaze or not to blaze, there is no question. There is only to get high, to get by. I really love that one. That's one of my favorites so far. I don't know what Tuesday's show will be about, but I have a feeling I'm going to go and see a movie between now and Tuesday, maybe two. Maybe I'll go see the newest porno released by Backseat Bangers and give you some. I'm just teasing. It's a total joke. So go ahead and age restrict me, YouTube, because I said something inappropriate. All of you are special. All of you are unique. All of you have a purpose. You have a reason for being here. 6 degrees of separation, butterfly effect. I call it your 6 degrees of circles, right? The reality is you touch everybody, and everybody touches you. That sounded a lot better when I said it in my head until I actually said it out loud. So apparently there's a lot of touching going on, which I'm quite fine with. But since we have reached an hour, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. I love all of you. I will see you Tuesday. I don't know where and how, but I will, even if it's from a Starbucks. It'll be Starfucks. You're awesome. You're incredible. Thank you so much for all the support. I really do mean that. I love each and every one of you. If you ever need anything, just reach out. And don't be afraid to ask. See you on Tuesday. Yep, that is definitely the cue for me to let it go and say goodbye to you.
You can't have my phone number unless we running up the digits. Let me meditate, I just need a couple minutes. Tryna low bomb me, my cojones to the big ass. Bitch, I get high. I ain't looking at the clock.